We are back at it.
You expect to not get your teeth kicked in on your home field by Tulsa!
Champions of the Big 12.
This is not the 1980s OSU.
Zach Robinson, a lot of time going deep for Des Bryant. He's open. Diving catch. Touchdown, Oklahoma State.
We are back at it. Welcome back to another edition of the Pistols Firing Podcast. I'm Carson Cunningham, joined as always by Colby Powell. Colby, how are we doing tonight? It's not our normal recording schedule, but we are getting after it here on a Monday night during some Monday Night Football. How you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good, yeah. Long weekend. Homecoming Friday night was a lot of fun, and then 36 holes of golf. Rain delay Saturday, playing in the dark and with headlights on the green Saturday night. More golf yesterday, and then back at it today. So long weekend, but good weekend, and glad to be back on. So, yeah, how was Arkansas?
Arkansas was great. I wasn't really sure what to expect. I've never been to Hot Springs, Arkansas, and it was a great time. We went with my wife and our friends, the Jalusises. It's hard to say that name plural. The Greek plural there is pretty tough. But no, we had a great time. Short trip. I mean, it was just a quick little weekend, but it was good to get away. Kid free, so we enjoyed our time. And I was watching some of the second half in a hot tub overlooking the lake. So I was living the good life. It was pretty great.
That's a pretty good spot. Yeah, I don't blame you for that. It was
I had a
stogie.
Game, I had a stogie too, but it was not a victory cigar by any means. But I had a nice little stogie while things were going great. And then I should have stayed in the hot tubs when I got out. That's when it went haywire.
I was going to say, did you get out at the end of the third quarter? Because I'll tell you what, through three quarters and even I'd say three quarters and a few plays, 3 quarters and change, I was like, this is a watchable product here. And then it all went downhill from there, Carson. So a little bit better product. I will say homecoming, awesome as always. Huge crowd. Fun stuff for kiddo to do. The decorations were awesome. Shout out to Greg. Met a listener out there. My daughter wanted to get up on a swing, and his kids were on it. I said something. I don't know what I said. Like I said, we've got nowhere to be and all day to get there. Take your time. Let them have their turn. And he looked at me and he's like, Are you familiar with the Pistols Firing blog? I said, yeah. And he asked me who I was and stuff. Said he loved the show. So shout out to Greg, man. It was good to meet you. Always love to see a listener out in the wild.
Was he picking up on the Chickasha accent? Was that what triggered it? Man,
I've been told I have a pretty unique voice. So I uttered about one sentence, and he looked at me and he goes, Are you Colby Powell? Yep, that's me. My voice does not get mistaken too often.
It's pretty unmistakable. I think 213, is that your section?
It was so last year it was 215. We're in the same seats, and this year it's 120.
Oh yeah, I was way off then. I think someone was asking me. A friend of mine was asking if I was at the game. I said, no, Colby's in section 213. So I hope I didn't send him on a wild goose chase there. I probably did. Not 231. You're not in the shirtless section just yet, but I'll have to remember that next time. But no, that's great. Loved seeing how packed homecoming was for walk-arounds on Friday. Loved seeing all you had Big Country on one of the house decks. You had the wrestling house decks with Wyatt Hendrickson on it. Those students just do a remarkable job with that. I was one of those students not way long time ago. I kind of skirted my pumping duties. Like the statute of limitations have worn off from that. But no, it was really cool. And I wish I'd been up there for homecoming. It looked like a great time and a great crowd. I mean, I tweeted this. We'll get into the game now as we transition. But before we do that, let's hear from Chris's University Spirit, your one-stop Cowboy shop. Be sure to shop at chrisuniversityspirit.com. If you want Section 231 gear, maybe they'll have Section 115 gear for Colby moving forward. They need to start printing those T-shirts and towels as well. But you know the place to go. Chris's, they'll get you hooked up, and that thing's really taken on a life of its own. You had J.C. Hoyt in there rocking with the students. You had Bananas. I'll have to ask you what was going on with the banana costumes. Again, I was watching from Arkansas, not totally locked in, but we appreciate Chris's sponsoring the show as always, and you know where to go down there on Campus Corner. So appreciate Chris's sponsoring the podcast as always. That thing's taking on a life of its own, Colby. I mean, what was up with the dancing bananas going on there?
Yeah, so I wasn't in the stadium because I had the MGA Cup Saturday, and we played golf until we were still golfing at like 7:40 at night because we had a rain delay, and we were going to get it all in. So I was like on the 18th hole in the dark. I get home and I'm looking through my phone, searching Twitter, checking it all out. I'm like, what are these bananas? What's happening with the bananas? Was this planned? What's going on here? I guess that was just some students who figured, hey, if we're having fun with this thing, let's have fun with this thing. And I kind of feel the way Doug Meacham does about it. Like, go make memories. Go have fun. My memories were Justin Blackman and Brandon Whedon. These students, they don't get that memory. They don't get that memory. You know what they get? They get Section 231 and they get bananas. Whatever you want to do to have your fun, do to have your fun. The football, not so much fun right now. Have your fun in the stands. So, yeah, the bananas were cool. Section 231 is cool. It's not something that's going to last forever because obviously the program won't be this down forever. But in the meantime, everybody have your fun. Enjoy yourself at the games. I'm here for it.
I'm here for it too. And you know, Chad Weiberg tweeted out a photo of the crowd and was like thanking the fans. And one of my few tweets I sent during the game was just how full that stadium was. And again, it's, 46, 47,000 people. I'm not trying to act like there's 102,000 there for this team. But I think that number, and I know it's homecoming, and we'll see what it looks like as the season keeps trending in the direction it's headed. But Colby, how many fan bases in the country would show up in droves like that, 46, 47,000 people, for what is seriously the worst Power 4 team in the country? That list has to be very, very short. And what I take from that is this thing has grown to a level that I think we've all kind of forgotten recently. It's been a long couple years here. Not that long ago, they were in the Big 12 championship game, mind you. But I think that really just illustrates the amount of support OSU football has moving forward with the next coach. And just no matter who the coach is, frankly, this thing's ready to pop. And if they get the right coach in here, it is going to be like insane as far as the amount of people going to games. The tailgating scene is going to go to another notch. Like, the fact that they've hit rock bottom now for 15 straight games of being the worst team in the country and still have a crowd like that, I think it speaks volumes about where this program is now. And I think it speaks volumes about what type of job this is nationally, which we'll get to as we see on the rundown. But Colby, how many programs would have a crowd like that for this team?
Yeah, Carson, it's not just it's the worst Power 4 program in the country. Bill Connolly sent out a tweet yesterday. He said, prepping tomorrow's top 766, which is every school at every level of college football. And in his tweet, he puts, and OMG, 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 OMG. He's got Presbyterian at 136, Oklahoma State at 137. There's a Division II school at 140, Ferris State. That is the category that Oklahoma State football is in right now. And people are still showing up. People are still supporting. Obviously, homecoming had a lot to do with it. But it's a night game. You're able to get out. You're able to have fun. Weather was good. I appreciate that this fan base, I think, really understands what happened, how we got here. I think this fan base understands that it's temporary. And I think this fan base appreciates the guys that have stuck around and are still – they're giving it their all, man. They're not good enough. We know it. We see it. They're not winning games. Probably not going to win one the rest of the season. If they do, it'll be awesome. Maybe Hosseini decides to play a couple of games. Who knows? It'll be awesome if they can win one. In the meantime, the fan base gets it. They understand where we're at. And – the support has been pretty great. And Coach Meacham has spoken to that too, about the support, about how much he appreciates it. I'm sure it means a lot to the players. Like, they know what's happening right now. So I just feel like the fan base, the coaches, the players, everybody's on the same page. We're all doing our best, making our best of a bad situation.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. I mean, the best of a bad situation. I think that's why the crowd section 231's taken on the life of its own. I think they're everyone's grasping on to some form of positivity. I think everyone realizes the stakes here, that this season is a lost season, and we're all kind of waiting with bated breath on who the next coach will be. And whoever that is, I think what we've seen the last 2 weeks speaks to just how much support is ready, willing, and able to throw it up there to Stillwater. And And I was also struck. I was watching the Georgia Ole Miss game, and I was watching with my buddy Mike Jalusis, and I told him, I was like, I've been to Athens, and I was telling him about my experience when OSU played there in 2007. And I think back to that time. I was a student covering that game for the Daily Ocali, the O-Collegian. And I remember going to that game in 07 and thinking, this tailgating scene is unlike anything I've ever seen back then. And fast forward to this weekend when I was telling him about it, I started to think just in my own brain. I was like, I've been to a lot of places around the country, and I would put Oklahoma State's game day environment now right back to where I was in 2007. There's virtually no difference other than just, the two campuses looking different. That's how far, and back in 07, Colby, I mean, you were really young then. I mean, I was in college. Mike Gundy was just trying to get something going back then, coming off, Les Miles had a couple good years there. But prior to that, OSU was not a national football program. And seeing the crowd that we saw there and watching that Georgia game, I was like, wow. It kind of hit me as I was telling him what the tailgating scene was like. It's like, wow. OSU's right there as far as fan support, tailgating scene, all of those things. So even though the season's gone haywire, it really has put in perspective what this program can be and has been in the past, in recent past under Mike Gundy. And I don't know, just despite all of the losses and how ugly it's been and just kind of sad, frankly, it's gotten, I'm really encouraged by the future of OSU football.
Yeah, I am too. All things considered, I am. And Carson, I'm somewhat encouraged. Look, I love what Kevin Johns did on Saturday. I thought that his game plan offensively was exactly what Oklahoma State needed. They went extremely run heavy. Rodney Fields had a field day, if you will, pun intended, with Cincinnati's defense. Good rush defense. Sam Jackson did enough, made a couple of big throws. The throw up the sideline on the 3rd and long to Shamar Rigby. That's a big-time throw. They didn't do enough at the end. The 4th and 1 play where you send Sam Jackson out wide and Sessi runs up the middle, that's the perfect time, Carson. We talked about the Colin Klein offense. I would have loved a pop pass over the top there. I think that gets you into the end zone. I don't think Cincinnati will be expecting it at all. That's a key play. 3rd and 1 play out near midfield. You're driving. I think they were at the Cincinnati 41. 3rd and 1 play. Can't get the snap back to Sam Jackson. He has to go fall on it. You punt. They go down and score, including a 3rd and 16 conversion with just an absolute missile on 3rd and 16 from Sorsby up the middle. It's just a handful of plays, and then obviously the pick six. Sam Jackson certainly struggles throwing with anticipation. He's a receiver playing quarterback, and we saw a few times in that game, and we've seen it a few times the last few weeks, just throwing it behind guys who are trying to get into their routes. But Carson, I mean, I'm telling you, if somebody, most people, I would imagine almost nobody nationally watched this game. They just saw the score scroll across the bottom, and it said 49-17 Cincinnati. You get beat by 32. Cincinnati was not 32 points better than Oklahoma State. Cincinnati was 15, 20 points better than Oklahoma State. And Oklahoma State made a few key mistakes. Cincinnati made a few key plays. I understand that's the difference between good football teams and bad football teams. But I do feel like if you're Doug Meacham, if you're Kevin Johns, if you're Clint Bowen, you're telling your guys like, hey, the margins are smaller than that final score would indicate. And I think that you as coaches, you can get your guys to believe that there's some optimism that you can find a way to win a football game. Maybe not this Saturday against Texas Tech, mind you, but going forward, you've got some more beatable teams on your schedule late in the season in November. You can maybe eke one of those out, and it would mean a lot to the seniors, guys who've been around. So hopefully they can send that message. Hopefully the guys believe that, because I don't know if a couple of those go Oklahoma State's way against a little bit less of an opponent, maybe they could win a game down the stretch. I don't know. Cincinnati was a good football team, and Oklahoma State really battled for more than 3 quarters.
Yeah, that to me is the takeaway from this game. The final score is what it is, but everyone who watched that game could see marked improvement from Oklahoma State. It wasn't just one of those games where you're just not competitive from the jump, where you're making those catastrophic errors throughout the game to where it's just a complete blowout laugher, and why did we even show up? I mean, this was an 11-point game, into the 4th quarter. And for me, the number one thing that stood out was the running game, clearly. And what's kind of crazy about it, and Mike Gundy's been harping on the yards per carry for so long. They ran for 228 yards on 4.8 yards per carry against a really good, and this is the caveat, against a really good run defense team. I mean, Cincinnati came in allowing just 129 yards per game at 3.7 per carry. They'd allowed just 4 rushing touchdowns in 6 games. I mean, that's the filter you got to look at this game through. Like, not only did they have their best rushing performance in recent memory, but they did it against a really good run defense. So that shows me that the players who are playing are still bought in. And I think it showed really good coaching, which we'll get to with Kevin Johns calling the plays and Doug Meacham focusing on, being the head coach. But had this game just been one of those just laughers throughout, well, then I think we would be having a much different conversation. And we're not sitting here saying OSU is going to bounce back and win, 2, 3, 4 games the rest of the way. Neither of us are saying that. But it is encouraging that they've improved, that they've shown some signs of life. And I think it's really important, Colby, to that point, that Rodney Fields has a game like that or another one, down the stretch, because he's going to be a key player, whoever the new head coach is, keeps in the fold. He certainly can test the transfer portal waters. No one would blame him for that. But he's in a really good place, being Oklahoma State and the history they have with running backs. And I think he strikes me as a kid that will wait and see who the new coach is going to be, along with some of the recruits as well. But keeping a Rodney Fields and getting him going in that way is a big, big deal.
Yeah, no doubt. It's his second 100-yard game of the season. He had 3 runs of 10-plus yards, which as poor as this run game's been, that's huge. He had a 41-yard rush. His touchdown run, his 20-yard touchdown run, he showed really nice vision. I was impressed with Rodney Fields. We talked about Trent Howland lately, and we've both been on the Trent Howland bandwagon, and I don't know. It certainly looked like now Howland's gotten hardly any run lately, so still don't know exactly what the reasoning behind that is, but Fields looked great. He looked like RB1 in this game, certainly, and he deserves more of that going forward. And Oklahoma State they were so much better run blocking. Fields had good vision, like I said, and it just was an all-around better offensive performance. You look at first downs, Carson. Last year in my song, I said, why do we live in 3rd and 9, all this stuff. Like, first downs, Oklahoma State has gotten killed. You're behind the chains every single week on every single drive. Against Houston last week, Oklahoma State had 57 total yards in the game on first downs. That's an average first down gain of 3.2 yards. On Saturday against Cincinnati, Oklahoma State had 207 yards on first down. That's 6.9 yards a play on first down. Like, Carson, that's the difference. It's like in baseball, pitchers, you got to throw strike 1. In football, guys, offense, you've got to get some yards on first down, especially when you're an offense that does not have explosiveness and cannot get it done through the air right now. And Oklahoma State did that on Saturday in a big, big way. So I think they're going to run into a brick wall against Texas Tech on Saturday, but I'm curious to see whether they can maintain that level of early down success later in the season against some more beatable opponents.
Yeah, to me, it's going to come to the quarterback, right? Look, Sam Jackson, I think, deserves like a medal for everything he's been through this year. I mean, making that position switch out of legitimate necessity with all the injuries they've had to Haas Haney, Zane Flores, and putting his own personal, wants and needs to the side for the betterment of the team is truly admirable. But I think we've seen that he's not an down in, down at quarterback. So the question is, and we'll get to the quarterback situation later with Zane Flores and Haas Haney and all those things. It seems like a weekly conversation we're having. But I do think in order to keep things respectable for longer periods with Rodney Fields in the running game, they're going to have a quarterback that can make throws consistently. And Sam Jackson just hadn't been able to do that. And the turnovers were, cataclysmic, critical, whatever adjective you want to put on it. And so I am encouraged by Rodney Fields for sure. He's shown a lot. We knew coming into this year he was probably their number 1 back. I'm with you though. I continue. I almost tweeted before the game, one of the keys is to get Trent Howland the football. I'm glad I didn't, because he literally did not one time. There's got to be something going on behind the scenes. And look, this is a game of human beings, and you have personalities involved. I don't claim to know what's going on with Trent Howland, but every time that guy's gotten the football this year, in albeit dire circumstances with the offensive line, particularly at Oregon where the walls are caving in on you, he's produced. So, I mean, I would like to see him at least back up Rodney Fields moving forward, but clearly that's just not in the cards right now. And your guess is as good as mine is what's going on there. But I did really like how Kevin Johns got the running game going. That's something we've been searching for at Oklahoma State for 2 years now, ever since Ollie Gordon left. Even when Ollie Gordon was here, he had a hard time running the football. What was it about Kevin Johns that you watched that really stood out to you in terms of, getting this running game going? Because, again, it's been the biggest bugaboo of this entire football program, really.
Yeah, I think it was just the willingness to fully commit to it, to not try to keep the defense honest and do different things. They were running some horizontal stuff. Gavin Freeman had a couple of rushes, a couple of jet sweeps. He was splitting Sam Jackson out wide at times. He was using Sessi. He was using Fields. There were some two-back sets. And quite frankly, I think we need to give a little bit of applause to the offensive line for the way they performed on Saturday night against what you said, a good run defense. They played well. Rodney Fields had some holes to run through, but I think just the full commitment from Kevin Johns to understanding his personnel, and this is what we talked about last week, and kudos to Doug Meacham for realizing that he was stretching himself too thin and he was not able to devote the time and energy to play calling that it required, and he needed to hand that over to somebody else so he could be the head man of the program. And Kevin Johns was able to tailor that offense to his personnel, which meant allowing Sam Jackson to only throw when necessary. He got Sam Jackson moving on a lot of his throws, which I thought was good. That, like I mentioned the pass earlier to Rigby, it was obviously his best throw of the night, probably his best throw of the season. That throw was on the move. So, yeah, I think just fully committing to, okay, if we're going to have any success offensively, it's going to be because we ran the ball 50 times. And Oklahoma State did have 48 rushing attempts in that game compared to only 19 passing attempts in a game that you trailed throughout. I mean, this was a 28-10 game at halftime, ended up being 28-17 going into the fourth. But, yeah, I think Kevin Johns just really coached to his personnel, and there were some creative formations and looks out of that. And then the offensive line played a little bit better, I think, with the understanding that they were going to be out there run blocking all night. I think the message throughout the week was probably just get downhill. Go punch somebody in the mouth. Go put somebody on their back and get downhill. So, I thought Coach Johns did a nice job of understanding who he had on the field and getting them in positions to be successful, something that we haven't seen a ton of lately, really.
Yeah, and this is another call to subscribe to Pistols Firing blog plus, PFB plus. Tyler Waldrop does a really good job kind of breaking down more in the weeds of the offensive success or lack of success in certain situations. And he rightly calls out what you mentioned about the offensive line. They finished with a 66.6 run blocking grade. That's nearly 4 points better than their second best performance and more than 8 points better than their third. That just shows you just how big of a jump they got in terms of their grading in the blocking schemes. They beat its previous best average pass protection grade by more than a point and shattered the team's now third best average by more than 7 points. He calls out Jacoby Sanders, did an excellent job filling in at right guard for Noah McKinney, who missed the game due to injury. Sanders finished with a team-high pass blocking grade of 84.9, and finished second with a run blocking grade of 75.1. So an opportunity, this is kind of what can happen with injuries or coaching turnover. You can have younger players step in and get their opportunity, and that's what Sanders clearly did on the offensive line. So rightly called out there by Tyler Waldrop there. A really good article. People should go subscribe to PFB Plus. And he goes on much deeper depths to it. But one of the things he really pointed out, Colby, was trips, the use of three wide receivers on one side of the field. Doug Meacham called that out with his comments as well. Gets a safety kind of out of the box. But on runs to out of trips, they did a good mix of everything on as far as running to the inside, outside, things like that. But they really did an amazing job of opening up the running game with the use of spreading out the field, something you and I have talked about for, gosh, I want to say 2 or 3 years, more like 10, it feels like. But that's kind of what we wanted to see, right, with Kevin Johns taking over, very experienced play caller. Doug Meacham is too, so I'm not sure what was going wrong there. Maybe the head coaching duties were tying him up too much. I'm not sure, but let the record show that Kevin Johns had a really good game one. We'll see if that can be parlayed into week two. But the offensive line did play better, and we we talk about them a lot when they're doing poorly. We should talk about them when they have a good game, and they certainly did.
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at Coach Johns' resume and Coach Meacham's resume, I think it's fair to conclude that Kevin Johns is probably just a better play caller than Doug Meacham. I mean, Kevin Johns has gone to 3 different stops, been the OC at 3 different stops. Oklahoma State now makes 4 where he's calling the offense here. And he's done pretty well in all those places. I mean, he did well at Duke. He did well at Texas Tech. They raved about him in Norman, and he had a strong week 1 in Stillwater. So, again, Carson, I think there's an art to play calling, and some guys just understand what the moment needs and when it needs it. And, I don't know what the message was throughout the week, but I would imagine that he talked to his guys about winning on first down, and he got those guys up front fired up to go get downhill and do some run blocking. And, yeah, I was impressed with Kevin Johns in week 1. So, again, I think it's going to be really difficult. Excuse me. I think it's going to be really difficult against Texas Tech, but that is what it is. You've got some winnable games, like we said, in November. Cowboy fans, the Pistols Firing podcast is brought to you by Brewster Consulting Group. Do any of these sound familiar at your company? Processes that are manual and inefficient with no documentation, data reporting that takes forever and is not accurate, all the hype going around AI, but you don't know what it actually means for your business, projects running over time, over budget. If any of that sounds like you, talk with our good friends at Brewster Consulting Group. They help build organizations that run like well-oiled machines with clear processes, reliable data and reporting, and technology that actually works for you. Their team of seasoned data engineers have delivered solutions that are built to last for local clients like the Tulsa International Airport and Medify. They've also delivered solutions for large international enterprises like DP World. Even better, they're founded and run by a proud Oklahoma State alum and season ticket holder. Learn more about them at www.brewsterconsulting.com or learn more about their methodologies by connecting with them at Brewster Consulting Group on LinkedIn or YouTube.
Good stuff. Appreciate Brewster as always. This is what Meacham said after the game. He says, quote, because that's kind of their primary run stoppers, that extra safety. Some of the formation stuff and the motions and shifts they did kind of neutralize that guy a little bit and create some running lanes. Oh my goodness. How long, Colby, have you been harping on motion and formations to open up running lanes? We didn't have the head ball coach up there saying, well, they loaded the box, they put 8 guys, and we got to run it on them. Done. Nothing we can do. Couldn't be helped. Don't have to hear that anymore, at least, right?
Carson, it's almost as if you have to figure out what the other team's good at and try to scheme around it. It's almost as if you have to try to figure out what formations they're going to be in and what you can throw at them to get them uncomfortable and make them play your game. I'm so glad that we don't have to hear about run fits anymore. I just run fits, 8 to 10 plays. Got to execute better. Our stuff's fine. That stuff, it got so old. So, glad that we don't have to hear about that anymore.
Well, as I got out of the hot tub, I did miss the pick 6 that truly well and ended the game. But talk me through the catastrophic turnovers that ended the game. I mean, were they as bad as they sounded that I read about after not seeing it live with my own eyes?
Yeah, I mean, you're going in, you're trying to score and get back in the game. At that point, I believe the pick 6 came, it did, at 35-17, so you would have only been cutting it to 11. At that point, Oklahoma State wasn't going to win the game, and they were desperately trying to march down the field and score a touchdown to get back in it. Sam Jackson's trying to make a play. It was great coverage. Even if it is a good throw placed out in front of the receiver, I don't know that it's a completed pass. It might have just been a deflection, but Carson, it was thrown way behind him. And a couple of times earlier in the game, on second, third downs, guy comes across the middle on a slant, ball's way behind him. It's one thing that I would imagine Coach Johns is going to sit down with Sam Jackson this week, turn on the film and say, look, I understand that whenever you're looking at him, you rip it and you're throwing it right at. By the time he gets into his route, that ball's way behind him. So he's going to be coached up on that this week, but it's something that, the guy hasn't played quarterback in years, and throwing with anticipation, man, it's hard to go from the receiver group and then come out there against a good Big 12 defense with guys, 260-pound guys barreling down at your chest and rip one with anticipation over the middle of the field in the red zone. So you can only ask so much of Sam Jackson, but yeah, ball was just thrown way behind him. That one, to me, less painful than the snap on 3rd and 1. A skinny post in the red zone, that's a tough play to make. Center's got to get the ball to the quarterback. Quarterback's got to handle the snap. You've got to maintain that drive. Also because, Carson, at that moment, that's 28-17. You're in Cincinnati territory. They cannot stop the run to save their lives. You're going to pick up the 3rd and 1. If you don't, you're going for it, and you're going to pick it up on 4th down because they cannot stop Rodney Fields and Sam Jackson. That combination, Ceci, all those guys, they had no answers for what Oklahoma State was doing on the ground. So that one to me was the one that really hurt because it felt like if you convert there and you just keep marching down the field, Oklahoma State had a chance to score and make that game 28-24 in the 4th quarter, at which point Cincinnati gets a little bit tight. That place gets a little bit rowdy, and all of a sudden we're watching a real football game in the 4th quarter. That is the one that really left me with an empty feeling in my stomach. Yeah, and again, I think Sam Jackson deserves a medal for putting himself what he's putting himself through, but yeah, I mean they need Zane Flores and Haas Haney to get healthy, and who knows if Haney will even play. But I did want to mention Doug Meacham did talk at his Monday press conference about why he gave up the play calling duties. He said, quote, "I didn't feel like those guys are getting my best because of, and it's not necessarily this stuff, it's the mental. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but you're dealing with 100 some odd players. Should I do this? Should I do that? And there's a lot of mental gymnastics in that. I don't think I was doing a very good job in terms of giving them my best. Those guys, they're fighting for themselves at this point in the terms of their career. So I just kind of unplugged myself and said, you guys can go make this what you want, and moving forward, it may help you in the long run. Get your next whatever it is you're looking for." I just felt like I wasn't completely dialed in with all the other things. So that takes a lot of self-awareness. I commend Doug Meacham for that. You know, this is a guy, just like the players, coaching for his next job. And that took a lot of humility, I feel like, to realize, hey, I'm not doing my best, trying to balance both roles. So that to me says a lot about Doug Meacham, and I think that shows you why a lot of the players have really kind of rallied for him. Yeah, I've really appreciated Doug Meacham's attitude since he took over the job. In his press conferences, on the sideline, he seems, Carson, I don't want everything I'm saying about Doug Meacham to sound like a shot at Mike Gundy. I really don't. He seems engaged. He just seems absolutely locked in on everything that's going on out there, every play, trying to just maximize everything. And in his press conferences, he has a positive energy to him. He's treating people kindly. I don't know. I just appreciate his attitude since he took over. He understands the hand he's been dealt. He knows he's not going to win many football games. He knows he's going to be looking for a job in 6 weeks, and I think he's handled it with grace and class. So kudos from me to Doug Meacham for that. Absolutely. Totally agree. And, yeah, it's hard to praise Doug Meacham without it sounding like a shot at Mike Gundy. That's not what we're here to do. It's just calling a spade a spade. Hey, there's Doug Meacham being engaged. Like, it doesn't take much to realize the difference there, just from having watched Mike for 20 years. And that's the thing, right? Like, Mike wasn't hooting and hollering when they were winning 10, 11 games every other year. So it's I've never been one of those people either. That's just something people bring up when you lose games and ultimately are let go. What's going on with quarterback here? I'm failing to find the quotes from Doug Meacham. Maybe you have them, but I got to think Zane Flores was close last week and is day-to-day now, and man, it would be really nice to get him back in the fold. I mean, I know he had his own problems, but I think you would at least have more of a threat down the field with a Zane Flores at quarterback. Yeah, you definitely would. And here's what Meacham had to say today. He said, Zane's come a long way, but we'll probably know a little bit more about that part once we get through practice. There's nothing that says it can't be a 2-quarterback platoon situation, or it could be Sam all the way, or it could be Zane all the way. So very non-committal. Obviously probably doesn't want Texas Tech, a really good defense, to have any extra chance to prepare. But I think if it is Zane, you could still have some Sam Jackson packages, especially with how much success Coach Johns found with the run this past Saturday. But I don't know. That quote made it sound very 50-50 to me as who's taking the snaps on Saturday. I'll be honest with you, Carson, if Zane's not 100% right, you're going down to Lubbock to get crushed. You know you're going to Lubbock to get crushed. Is it worth running Zane out there if he's 75%? I don't think it is. I think you put Sam out there, you go with the run-centric offense, run-heavy stuff, you run trick plays, you try to get Texas Tech off balance, you get through 4 quarters, and you get home healthy. Yes, that is defeatist. I am being defeatist about what's going to happen Saturday in Lubbock as a 37-point underdog. Sue me. I'm not throwing a quarterback out there unless he's 100% healthy.
No, that's a good caveat as far as me wanting. I don't think it's fair to Zane to throw him back out in Lubbock as a 35.5 point dog. So I'm with you. And look, there's stuff to build on here with what they had last week. I mean, their 3-and-out percentages, Colby, this year. You ready for this? They had 40% 3-and-out percentage against UT Martin, 57 against Oregon, 16.6 against Tulsa, 30 for Baylor, 42 for Arizona, 27 for Houston, and just 11% 3-and-outs against Cincinnati. That's something you can build on. Their drives crossing the 40 percentage. It was 50 against UT Martin, 15 against Oregon, 70 for Tulsa, 75 against Baylor, 30 Arizona, 40 Houston, 66.6% against Cincinnati, season high. And their red zone drive percentage was 55% against Cincinnati. Didn't get above 27, 0, 23, 33, 7, 40 the rest of the year. So, I mean, those are some key stats that showed market improvement in the offense. So I'm with you. Throw Sam out there. Get weird. I want him to get weirder, Colby. I love the trick plays they've run so far this year. I think the trips was a great wrinkle. Maybe Kevin Johns will come up with another wrinkle in Lubbock, but you mentioned it. We'll get to the Texas Tech line in just a second. But first, let's hear from Wolf Corporation. That's WULF, Wolf Corporation, longtime sponsor of the show this season. We appreciate Wolf being with us every step of the way. You have commercial real estate, Wolf is your team that you need to contact. They're ran by a proud Oklahoma State alum. And let me see if I can find my ad read here, Colby. This is not good. I can't find. There we go. Cowboy fans looking to sell or lease your commercial property, turn to Wolf Corporation, Oklahoma's trusted commercial real estate listing brokerage. Since 2010, our experienced team specializes in showcasing your retail, office, or industrial space to the right buyers and tenants across the state. They're based right here in Oklahoma. They deliver results with local expertise. Visit them at wolfcorporation.com. That's WULF Corporation, or call 405-308-3480 today. Go Pokes. Appreciate Wolf's patience as I remembered what the heck I was saying there. Colby, live radio. You got to just roll with the punches. Okay, rolling with the punches. She's about to make they're about to take a big punch in Lubbock. 35.5 is the line. I think the Vegas odds makers, Colby, thought they were going to make a lot of coin on all the people betting against them last week, and OSU somehow fudged the numbers there at the end. So I think Vegas finally is like, all right, fine. You're playing what was the number one team in the Big 12 till they lost to Arizona State. 35.5, man. These are dark times that OSU is a 35.5 point underdog.
Yeah, and you catch them coming off a loss and with playoff stuff and seeding and everything, probably feeling like they need to make a statement to the country that they're back on top. This could get out of hand. I mean, Texas Tech, they've got a big-time roster with big-time NFL talent on it. They spent the money. They're a good football team. They did lose a defensive tackle prior to this Arizona State game. They lost in the week before for the season. That was tough for Tech. You feel for them in that sense. You've got probably one of, maybe not the best team in school history. Graham Harrell and Michael Crabtree were pretty good, but one of the best teams potentially in school history at Texas Tech, and you lose one of your star defensive players to an injury for the rest of the season. But, yeah, this one's not going to be fun. And, again, defense – try not to give up big plays. Got to tackle better. The tackling's brutal, man. I mean, Cincinnati gets somebody out in open space. I mean, even the quarterback's not that elusive. His touchdown run, he made like 4 guys miss on a 6-yard touchdown run. If a guy got the ball in space, you just felt like it was going to take 3-4 guys to get to him and bring him down. They're doing what they can do, but it's not nearly good enough on that side of the ball. So, yeah, this game starts at 3. Fortunately, it's not a night game. We don't have to stay up until 11 to watch this one. This game starts at 3. It might be over by the time I wake my daughter up from her nap at 4. So we'll see just how long Oklahoma State can keep it competitive in Lubbock. Also, Carson, I'm trying not to get distracted. I'm doing this podcast in my daughter's playroom back here in the house because my office is too close to her bedroom and she's asleep. It's 9:30 now on Monday night. And the cat is back here behind me in my camera, just absolutely having a field day on my daughter's little platform up on top of her foam pit back here. And I got to say, he's very distracting. I can't just like turn around and brush him away. So for the last like 3-4 minutes, I've just been watching the cat back here behind me on my camera, trying not to get distracted as I'm giving takes.
Oh, you look like Dr. Evil there with your evil cat friend with you. You should start petting him like Dr. Evil. What's the cat's name again?
The cat's name's Russell. He heard me talking about him and he took off. He's Russell. We got him we got him in the summer of 2014. So yes, he is named after Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, and just like Russell Westbrook, he doesn't like the media. He just ran away from the cameras.
Exactly. Yes. One of the Thunder greats, Russell Westbrook.
The aptly named Russell the cat. Russell Westbrook was kind of moody like a cat. He gives off cat vibes. So that's a great name for your cat there. I'm glad he made an appearance there. I didn't notice. I was working the 1s and 2s here and didn't see him there. I'm glad you called that out. Russell Westbrook.
That's why we named a cat after him and not a dog, by the way. He does not have dog energy. Russ has big time cat energy.
Well, he is a dog on the court. I was mainly, I guess, talking about just his vibes, just kind of walking around, mingling amongst media and people in general. But he's definitely a dog on the court. He's one of the all-time dogs. I'll defend Russell Westbrook forever for how hard he played.
Oh yes, on the court. Yes.
On the court, definite cat vibes off. Oklahoma State. CBS put out an article of the top Power 4 openings in the country, and you and I have probably been accused by some as being sunshine pumpers of how good of a job Oklahoma State is nationally. Well, seems as if the national media agrees with us. The Power 4 openings, according to CBS, would be Florida 1, Penn State 2, Arkansas, which you and I had kind of an interesting back and forth debate about. We both really liked the Arkansas job. It was ranked 3. But lo and behold, Oklahoma State ranked 4th, ahead of Virginia Tech, ahead of UCLA, ahead of Stanford, and then ahead of a host of group of 6 jobs. And what CBS had to say about it was, let's be clear, Mike Gundy is Oklahoma State football. There have been 11 10-win seasons in program history. Gundy was a part of 10 as either a coach or a player. That said, the job Gundy leaves is very different from the one he took, for the better. Oklahoma State has invested heavily over the years in its program and has strong facilities and investment. People have been talking to the right people finally. While it won't rank at the top of the Big 12 in money, it's close enough to contend for the conference in the right circumstances. Gundy was a legend, but there's plenty of reasons to also believe that a new coach could have better success in utilizing the transfer portal and player compensation than Gundy ever did. No notes. I mean, yes, Mike Gundy, factually speaking, is Oklahoma State football, if you're going to include his playing career as well, no doubt. But this job is really set up for success for whoever takes it. So it was nice to see some national recognition there.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's some of the things that we've been saying. The investment is going to be there, I think, for Oklahoma State football. I was talking to some people over the weekend, and there's reason to believe that there are some donors out there that are specifically interested in making sure that Oklahoma State has a program-changing type player at quarterback under a new coach. That's one thing that I'm hearing. That's big time, obviously. The budget for a potential quarterback at Oklahoma State could be expanded. Maybe the budget was not allocated properly these past couple of years at that position, So there's that. There's, I think, the general excitement level that the fan base is going to have whenever a new head coach is hired and the excitement for next season starts pouring in. I really think, Carson, this job does not have the SEC or the Big Ten label on it. I understand that. This is the Big 12, and this is a second-tier conference behind those other two. That being said, once you get to the Big 12 and the ACC, there aren't a ton of jobs that Oklahoma State's not at least comparable to. Miami's a better job. Florida State's a better job. Clemson's a better job. You've got more money, more resources at places like that, more history, tradition, championship, stuff like that. In the Big 12, there really are not too many of those at all. You've got Texas Tech throwing money at it right now, but you don't have tradition and history and stuff there. Oklahoma State, it's a good job, Carson. I feel good that whoever comes here is going to have the support to win in the Big 12. I can't tell you that you're going to go out and run through 3 or 4 straight opponents in a college football playoff to win a national title. Schools like Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, Alabama, those type of schools. I can't tell you that. But, man, you should be able to compete with Texas Tech, Arizona State, Utah, and BYU. You just should. So, yeah, I'm still bullish on it. I'm fine with that ranking. Again, I think Arkansas versus Oklahoma State depends what you want from that. I think personally I'd probably have Penn State ahead of Florida just because Florida's been such a nightmare for so long for every coach that's walked through that door. But I get it. SEC, Big Ten, it is what it is. But all in all, I'm fine with those coaches, those rankings in terms of jobs. It gets subjective at some point, and you're just kind of leaning toward your biases, and I'm certainly leaning toward mine.
I would rank Oklahoma State ahead of Arkansas. Now, when I discussed it with you, I think the money aspect in being in the SEC is a big factor. So I think a coach would look at salary and infrastructure in terms of money differently at Arkansas versus Oklahoma State. I don't have the true, readouts of all the funds available, but CBS rightly points out the reason why I would rank Oklahoma State over them. Arkansas only has 6 AP top 25 finishes in 34 years. That's top 25. You just have to have a pulse being in Arkansas to get in the top 25. You have to just not be bad. They've only finished in the top 25 6 times in 34 years. There's a reason for that. They are Arkansas, but they're in that conference, and they're Arkansas. So I would definitely put Oklahoma State ahead of that in terms of which job's going to lead to more success, for sure. No question in my mind. So we'll see.
Yeah, just real quick, Carson, to reiterate kind of what you're saying about Arkansas, they are undoubtedly a small fish in the biggest pond. I mean, this job, I understand, like Arkansas, it has this ring to it. I think it's I think the olds respect it more than some other people do. This job is no different to me than Mississippi State. I don't know. I get that it's an SEC job. They're a small fish in a big pond. When I'm comparing Oklahoma State and Arkansas in terms of jobs, I guess it depends what you want. Do you want to go coach somewhere for 2-3 years, get ripped, and then get a buyout? Or do you want to go somewhere where maybe you can coach for 10 or 15 years, get multiple contracts, and potentially have some success and be a power in your conference? It depends what you want. If you want 2 or 3 years and then to get ripped by everybody and get a buyout, go to Fayetteville. If you think you might want to have sustained success for a decade and win your conference, come to Stillwater.
Yeah, and as you were saying that, I would offer this counterpoint. Look at Missouri. When we're talking about the SEC being this just murderer's row gauntlet, and it can be and has been in the past, Missouri's been better in the SEC than they ever were in the Big 12. They go on the road and beat Auburn. They're, 7-1? They're in the top 10. They're going to be on game day. I think if you're Arkansas, you're sitting there pointing at Missouri going, look, they're winning. Why can't we? They're a better football program than Missouri. So I kind of...
Are they? Over the last 25 years, is Arkansas a better football program than Missouri?
They haven't been, no. But
I
there's
can
caveats
go a
there.
quarter century. I think over a quarter century, I'm taking Missouri's resume over Arkansas's.
But what's a better program? I know past success doesn't guarantee you anything.
I know it doesn't. I'm just saying, I over many different administrations, many different people. Yeah, I don't know.
Arkansas under Houston Nutt did make the SEC championship game as many times as Missouri's played for it. So
okay, fair enough.
I have very little respect for Missouri as a football program. And look, they've had success.
I have very little respect for Arkansas.
You should. You shouldn't have that much respect for Arkansas because they haven't done anything. And I understand Missouri, but do you get my overall point here that Missouri has been better in the SEC than they ever were in the Big 12?
Yeah. It's a fair point.
Texas A&M, let's throw them in there. They've done more in the SEC than they've ever done in the Big 12. I know they won the Big 12 back in the second year when they upset K-State
long time ago.
1997.
Yeah, forever ago.
Yeah, they've been way more relevant in the big bad SEC. And I know this is a terrible year to be making this case with what the Big 12 looks like this year. I totally understand that. No shots fired on my behalf, on behalf of the Big 12. But I don't know. As we're discussing those jobs, it is important. Even though Arkansas is a small fish in a big pond, so is Missouri. So that I think if you're Arkansas, you're sitting there pointing at Missouri going, we can do that. We have a better fan base, frankly, better stadium, better infrastructure, better history over the long haul than Missouri does. But you make valid points about recent history for sure.
Yeah, it's again, it's a lot of it's subjective on just how you feel about certain programs, and I think we're splitting hairs with OSU versus Arkansas, Missouri versus Arkansas, Virginia Tech, Penn State, Florida. I think we're splitting hairs with a lot of it.
To your point you made last week, should Oklahoma State just hire James Franklin and Jim Knowles? Just hire and Andy Koldnicki, the offense. Should they just hire Penn State staff? Like, could Oklahoma State do better than that?
Than just hiring Penn State staff?
Well, not their whole staff, but hiring James Franklin to be the head coach, Jim Knowles to be the defensive coordinator, and Andy Koldnicki to be the offensive coordinator. Those are two of the highest paid coordinators in the country. And you mentioned last week what the job that James Franklin did not only at Penn State but at Vanderbilt. I mean, that's probably not what I would do, but I certainly think Oklahoma State could do a lot worse than that, don't you?
Oklahoma State could do a lot worse than that. Franklin went on game day, talked about how much he still loves coaching and stuff. Talked about how great Penn State was to him and thanked the fan base and showed them some love. That was nice. Even though he talked about how, hard
a day
it was
after he got fired, or 2 days after he got fired.
I think it was 6. I think he got fired on Sunday. He did the game day set on Saturday. But Oklahoma State could do a lot worse than that. And I mean, look, I'm all in for a Zach Robinson, Jim Knowles combo, James Franklin, Jim Knowles combo, a GJ Kinney, Jim Knowles combo. Carson, I'm all in on a Jim Knowles combo because what we've been watching since he left makes my stomach churn. And please bring me back Jim Knowles as the defensive coordinator. And if James Franklin comes with him, that's a guy who's won a lot of football games. Think about the last 3 weeks of your life and how short a span of time that is. That is the span of time that cost James Franklin one of the best jobs in the country. So James Franklin's a good football coach. We talked last week about the culture fit stuff, but if they hire James Franklin, I'm going to be like, yeah, dude's been a really good football coach for 15 years. I get it.
I mean, you could do a lot worse. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that's who I would hire, but you look at it on paper, that would be pretty resounding 2 thumbs up, I think, from anyone that has objectivity. Now, I do think James Franklin got fired for his record against the AP top 10 that I mentioned. What was he like? I can't remember the number I spit out last show, but the point remains. He did not win enough big games to continue on as the Penn State coach, but I don't know. We'll see who Oklahoma State ends up hiring. Okay, Colby, if I gave you 100 guesses, could you tell me who the Virginia Tech coach was that got fired?
Boo. Oh, man, they threw a graphic up on the screen Saturday night when I was watching the Oklahoma State game. Brett Fry?
Hey, that was really good. Brent Pry.
I was close. That's not, by the way, because I knew who that was or that he was the Virginia Tech coach. That was just recall from seeing a graphic on Saturday night.
I mean, I'm reading the CBS article, and Brent Pry popped up. And his previous salary was $4.8 million. He went 16-24 in the ACC. You could have given me 200 guesses. I didn't know. I've never heard that name before. That shows you how involved with Virginia Tech I've been, I guess. And maybe that's on me. Maybe I should know who the Virginia Tech coach is. But Brent Pry, you could give me 200 guesses. But they note in the article Virginia Tech is ranked among the lowest funded programs in the ACC in recent years. But that's why these board of trustees, that's why they got all this PR and pub for all this money that's going to be funneled in the program, because they were dying. That's why. So I thought anyone that ranked Virginia Tech over Oklahoma State didn't know what they were talking about. And this article certainly would back that up. And shout out to Brent Pry. All right, Colby, we wanted to talk. What else do we want to talk about before we get out of here?
Thunder!
That's right. Ring night, baby. Ring night with Kevin Durant in the house. How sweet. Ooh. Tomorrow night might be – that is the culmination ever since July 4th, 2016. Was that the year?
16. Yeah, 16.
Yeah, almost 10 years later, we're finally getting to dunk on Kevin for the sissiest move in the history of sports. Again, Kevin came out recently and said the Thunder fans blame him for a hypothetical title, blah, 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 blah. This would be like Michael Jordan joining the Pistons at the height of their rivalry in the 80s. This would have been like Paul Pierce leaving the Celtics to go to the Lakers. Larry Bird to go play with Magic. That's the decision that you made and you made alone, Kevin, and you got to wear it. And you're going to wear it while the Thunder wear championship rings. If that's not sports karma, I don't know what is. I cannot wait.
I am going to be in the building. It is going to be incredible. I might get emotional when the banner goes up in the rafters, when they hang the banner. Carson, being a Thunder fan, I mean, I was a kid when the Thunder came to Oklahoma City. I was 15 years old when the Thunder got 16, whatever year they got here. I was a kid, and they got here, and immediately they were the most fun team in the NBA. And my fandom was forged in fire with that KD, Russ, Harden, Ibaka, those guys. I mean, the runs with Adams, Cephalosha, like those teams were incredible. And to just have your heart ripped to pieces by Kevin Durant, to just go get a couple of easy rings that just were never in doubt because they just formed a super team. And now, less than a decade later, to again have the best thing in the sport, but this time to have a superstar who is a leader, who can take your team to a championship. I'm watching Starting Five right now. I'm 2 episodes in. Episode 1, Kevin Durant talks about how he's not a leader and how, everybody sometimes needs to pick up the slack, and there's nights where he needs to be led and all this stuff. And Shea talks about wanting to be one of the greatest players to ever dribble a basketball, and how he knows what the team needs, and he knows they're looking to him, and he's that guy. And Shea, his whole life is consistent. Carson, I'm telling you, watch Starting Five. Some of it's cheesy. Every time they put James Harden on the screen, it is just the cringiest thing you've ever seen in your life. The first segment of episode 2 of Starting Five is like 8 minutes of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander's personal life, and then they immediately cut to 8 minutes of James Harden's personal life, and it is the most jarring juxtaposition of what an adult just who has their life together and a 35-year-old who's been partying for the last 20 years, who's trying to figure out what it means to be an adult. Like, it is so cringe every time James Harden is on the screen. He is exactly who you think he is. Like, the opening shot of him is like him talking about how he's been living the wholesome life lately, but right now he's hungover because last night got to him. Like, it's amazing, Carson. Back to the Thunder. I can't wait to be in the building last night, but you have to watch Starting Five. Shea he's cocky too, man. He knows how good he is. It's good stuff.
I debuted the Colby crash out graphic as you went on the Harden rant. It's just glorious. I don't know if, you probably can't hear the music and everything. I hope it records right, the music that goes with it. But I debuted the Colby crash out for our YouTube followers. If you're listening to the audio, be sure to check out this minute mark on the YouTube video. It's glorious. We got Colby on a literal dumpster fire. It's called the Colby crash out segment. We might have to get that sponsored as well.
Yeah, no doubt. It's just so good. And when I say Shea's cocky, like at one point in Starting Five, he's asked if he's unstoppable. And he says, Carson, and I'm not exaggerating, this is not hyperbole. He says, no, I'm not unstoppable. I'm just very, 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 very hard. I mean, very, 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 very hard to stop, but not unstoppable. No, like he literally, I mean, like 19 varies. Like he knows that he's that guy. And I'm only 2 episodes in, so I'm looking forward to continuing watching it. And the rings tomorrow, the banner, it's going to be incredible.
I thought that multiple times during their playoff run last year to the title. Like this foul merchant stuff was just hilarious to me because like he is impossible to guard. Like when he starts cutting back and forth and you don't know if he's going to go to the lane or pull up, like that's literally impossible. And you have to foul him. Like the list of people that have been that hard to guard might be 1 or 2. It might be Wilt and it might be Kareem or Jordan. That's it. Maybe prime Shaq just because of the sheer size factor. But as far as just staying in front of a guy, like it's impossible. He can say very all he wants. It's impossible.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's elite scorers throughout the history of the league, right? I mean, Will, you mentioned Kareem, Michael, Kobe, Shaq, Steph, even LeBron. Like, there are guys who are impossible to guard. Jokic is impossible to guard. But Shea, the grace with which he does it, and like he talks about growing up and being short, and he couldn't get past people with athleticism and speed. He had to be deceptive with his movements, and he studied the greats. Like he's some cross between Jordan and Kobe, and he's developed this 3-point shot that just. man, he's different, Carson. We're so lucky to have him. He loves being here. I mean, him and his wife they hang out with the kiddo at night at home. He's not going out clubbing. He's not James Harden. He's hanging out at home with his wife and his kid. He's watching TV. He's going to bed, and he's getting up early in the next morning, and he's going to work to be one of the greatest who ever played. And we've got him in Oklahoma City, and he loves being here. He's the best, Carson. I love him. I love him so much.
Yep, he's gonna get rightfully crowned NBA champion tomorrow night with Kevin Durant in the house. Doesn't get much sweeter than that. So, Colby enjoyed it, and we'll get back this week, preview the Texas Tech game. Maybe we'll have more coaching news along the way. Maybe more coaching jobs will be, maybe more Power 4 program jobs will be open. We'll have to see. It's going to be an interesting time of the year as Oklahoma State goes to Lubbock, America. I hope they don't try to replicate the 66-6 game that we saw in 2011.
Yeah, it's going to be a short preview episode, I think, Carson. I don't know how much we're going to have to get into, but
we might talk Thunder some more. Who knows?
It might be a Thunder post game. I can share my experience.
Nuts
for
I'll be in
the arena tomorrow.
Nuts for Lutz.
Yes.
That's what we're going to talk about.
This is a basketball state, Carson. This is a basketball state.
Hey, we're a wrestling, golf, basketball school, baby. Always have been.
Yep, and then a new hire will get made, and then boom, we're right back to football. So
yeah, that crowd told me we're a football school now, so we'll see.
Yeah, no doubt. So, all right, great stuff, Carson. Glad you had a good weekend in Arkansas. Appreciate everyone joining us as always. Go Pokes.